Om Akanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for a beautiful session that I'm personally very excited about on playback theatre. I am Anvita and I'm going to be your host for this evening. We have with us Victoria Niveditha today. Victoria Niveditha is a multidisciplinary professional artist who holds a bachelor's degree in fine arts. She practices a rare form of art called performance art. She is also a playback theatre artist, trainer, and an actress. She practices and facilitates creative art and movement therapies, and she is also a social media facility specializing in dyslexia. She has performed many theatre shows and presented numerous performance art pieces across India. Her paintings and artworks have been sold and showcased in numerous countries around the world. According to her, mandalas are a 2D version of patterns or designs that are created from the center of a circle and spread across the piece. She thinks that her life is also similar to mandalas. She says it is a lifelong process that one keeps creating with its own beauty. Mandalas in life have different flavors and essences added to it and with its own ups and downs. Even then, it's up to one to create it with harmony and inner joy. Thank you so much for being here, Victoria. Welcome.
Okay, good evening, all.
Good evening. Yeah. So we also have with us Sivapriya, who will be our interviewer for today.
Okay.
Sivapriya is a learner by passion and a psychologist by profession. She specializes in dance movement therapy and is also a yoga and mandala facilitator by profession. Hi, Sivapriya. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you, Anvi.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Sivapriya.
Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. Before going into playback theatre, I would say that Victoria is a very dear friend of mine for quite some years. We have been into this field. We started learning together the dance movement therapy. There we met. And from there, we started a very nice, good friendship, which has been going on for quite some time. And yeah, so she's one of the most passionate visual art therapists I've seen in the recent times. She has been very, very good enough in helping people through different modalities. So one such is playback theatre. So that is what we're going to talk about today. Hi, Vic. I call her Vic, short form for Victoria. So yes, yes, Victoria. We are very curious to know who's Victoria when it comes to playback theatre. How did you get introduced into this, and what is your story behind this?
Well, there is a friend of mine who's called Cyril Alexander. Okay. He was the one who brought in playback theatre to India, along with a group of friends. Some 20 years ago. Okay, so it was nice to get introduced to him. He's a social worker basically. So he was my first playback teacher. So with him we started, and a group of like-minded people, they started a school called Sterling School of Playback Theatre in India. So earlier it was a company, then we turned it as a school to teach playback theatre in India. Okay.
Yeah.
So he is my sister's batchmate, a social worker. So they were into street theatre practice and all that earlier. As a social worker, they reach a community, right? So from that background, he found something interesting, playback theatre, through various friend circle from abroad. So this is playback theatre is by Jonathan and Joe Salis in the year 1975. So they started it. It's basically from US. They started it in 1975 together. It's from psychodrama background. Then they turned it into this modality, like they created a pattern for playback theatre to reach the community wellness, right? So they were like trying to explore Jonathan and Joe Salis. They were traveling to different parts of countries. Like they went to Nepal, they went to various parts of countries to reach the community. So that's how it started spreading. Then this friend of mine and few people, they also learned from, and they started spreading in India. Ours is the very first school in India. So it's about 20 years old company. School is about 8 years old.
Okay. So why playback theatre? What made you to go into playback theatre particularly?
Playback theatre that relates with your own emotion, your own expression, your own story. So it's not something, a theatre form that is not a borrowed story. It's about, it deals with our own story. So the expression, any art form is to express, right? It helps you to express. So this particular art form helps you to express your own story and see it narrated in front of your eyes. Immediately, it's got improvised. On spot, we narrate it. Immediately. We listen to your story and then we immediately narrate it on spot. So how many of you are here, participants?
18.
18.
Yeah.
Wow. Good evening, all.
Yeah.
Can we start with a small exercise?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. So can everybody come on the video? Open up your video, please.
You're able to see everybody's video, Vic?
I can see 4x4.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Before going into that, Vic, if we could know more about what is that your connect with this and now, like then I think it would be more good enough to go into the actionable part.
Yeah, sure.
Because when we say playback theatre, I have heard about street play, performance art. So what is the main difference between playback theatre, street art and performance art?
Street art deals with a concept that you want to convey to the community. So that helps you to carry out like any government scheme or any awareness program, that you create a concept and then you do the rehearsal and then you present it to the community. Street theatre, you need to have a good rehearsal about the whole sequence of what you're going to present. And then they present it to the community.
Okay.
So as a group of artists together, they reach to the community in an open space or in a closed arena or anywhere. They gather people and then they present it. So you were talking about performance art?
Yes. I want to know the difference between all the three.
Okay. So the street theater practice or any dance that is you practiced and you're performing, or any theater form you practice and then you present, that all falls under performing art.
Okay.
So that all falls under performing art. And performance art is totally different. Playback theater is also a little different. So playback theater falls between improv theater, like spot improvised theater form. It's unrehearsed.
Okay.
It's unrehearsed, and you have to present it right in front of the audience. Once immediately you listen to the story, you have to present it immediately. Immediately you enact it. The audience would also listen to the story at the same time. The actors would also listen to the story same time. It's when the teller is coming out from the audience. So they share the story, the real life incident. Here we never listen to any my friend's incident or something. Whatever you experienced, that's what you're allowed to share. So you should be the part of the experienced person. So that's what we narrated to you back, for you to reflect back your own incident. So that's the playback theater is about. Performance art, what I practice, very few people, few artists in India, we practice called performance art, like professional artists. That has got nothing to do with playback theater. So in performance art, the way I practice is it's spontaneous, public narrative. Interactive with public. It's narrative. And in performance art, pain and pleasure is real.
Oh.
Okay. So in theater, it's not like that. In theater or in improvised theater, it's not like that.
Okay. So there are...
Yeah. But in playback theater, we insist that the actors, they get into the character by sensing the story, the storytellers, they become the character. So we make sure the actors become the character. So to a level, yes, they get into the character's shoe, they sense their emotion when they act. So as soon as they finish, they should also know the technique of coming out of that character. Otherwise, if they get fixed into the character, it will affect them. So yeah, there is a technique to get in, and there is a technique to come out of that character.
Okay. Now it's becoming much more curious angle of like elaborate detailment of what is playback theater. Can you elaborate on how a particular story comes into existence when that story is being told? Like steps of how it comes.
See, when we go for performance, like when we go give the playback theater performance, we directly don't get into story first.
Okay.
It's a stage by stage. We get into their emotions, the current emotions, and then the little later emotions, and then the past incident, and then the memorable incident. And then we go into it's a step-by-step process. So even with the audience, if it is a 1.5 hours performance, so later stage only we get into the story part. So there are step-by-step form. We have various form in playback theater, fluid form, sculpture. We have forms that tap your emotion and to present it in that. Okay. So we have various forms in this. In this thing, recently in 2016, we added a new form in playback theater by getting approval from Jonathan. So our school has devised 2 forms so far, a new form, which is now internationally in practice.
Okay.
So one form is the latest form that we introduced to playback theater is Ullondre. So we said it has to be sounded in this language only. Ullondre is Tamil word. Ullondre vaithu puramondru pesudhennu. Yes. Everybody is familiar talking in Tamil?
No.
No. Okay. There is a saying called Ullondru Vaithu Puramondru Pesudal. So we are taking this aspect of just Ullondru. Ullondru is there is something existing inside, but you are expressing something else in front of somebody else by hiding your real emotions. So in that form, we introduced to playback theatre in 2016. So when we conducted the Playback Theatre Festival for the first time in India, that's when we invited Jonathan to India for the first time. So it was a gala festival we had in Chennai. We invited playback theatre practitioners all over India to take part in that festival, and we had the masterclass. We gained learning masterclass from Jonathan directly from himself. It was a great thing that we received before. Many of them, they travel abroad to learn from him. So we made sure he comes over to teach us. So it was a great moment that time. We took him to some villages, and in our school we have the practice of giving playback theatre presentation in open space. Not many school practices that. Not many companies can practice that. It's a very challenging thing to practice in open space.
So you practice in open space.
We also practice in open space.
So what is the influence of this playback theatre on people? When you perform something, when you ask a story, when you perform
for example, I think you're familiar about the early crisis the Chennai underwent, like Chennai flood.
Yes.
You remember?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Chennai flood was the worst thing that Chennai faced before
recent
COVID.
Times.
Before recent times. COVID, it's international crisis that we are going through. But Chennai went through this Chennai flood event. So post-traumatic stress we deal with through playback theatre. We went to the community directly, like to each community that they were living by the canal. And the whole house has been flooded. First floor till the first floor, it's been flooded, and even the slum area till the first floor, it's been flooded. People were literally living, staying on terrace, and through helicopter, they were throwing food for them and all that. So during Chennai flood, it was the worst thing that Chennai faced during that time. So those stories, people did share about their stories during Chennai flood. Like they had enough food coming in for them, but they suffered that if they pass toilet and the toilet floats on the water that they are living in. So that's the worst thing they had to face it, and they couldn't eat food, even though they got food, so much food donated for them, but they couldn't eat food because they cannot pass urine or toilet. So that was the worst thing that they faced.
So how did you help through this playback theatre? What happened when you performed this and showed to them?
So they were able to go through that emotion once again when they shared it. Like they wanted to share what they underwent. So the sharing space was there. So they went through the narration. They had a chance to see through the narration, and then to acknowledge what they underwent and accept. So that helps them to acknowledge and accept and then move on.
Okay, so this is like a mirror, which they were seeing it. So they wanted to share. They want to see what they are going through, and also it feels like a catharsis which is happening. When you said you are helping out the communities, when you narrated this I can understand. Like they are able to express it out loud rather than just keeping it within. Yeah. So what are the different populations you have been focusing on?
I've worked with juvenile home children through playback theatre. I've worked with empowering educators, education purpose, using playback theatre for education purpose, using playback theatre for community wellness, and various aspect like one-on-one therapy role. At that, I practice psychodrama. So
when it comes to community, juvenile, and okay, so what do you think, like, is the impact does the playback theater have on the society as a at large?
it has done a tremendous role. For example, when I worked with juvenile home kids, when they were able to share their own story, not all of them are convict, so for some of them they are trapped. So they are inside not because they committed the crime. So some of them are like they have really severely committed some crime. Some of them, without their knowledge, they committed their crime. So everything, like, when it comes in terms of playback theatre, each of them had a chance to listen to each other's story. Earlier they didn't have much of chance to see what their own roommate, like in juvenile home, were going through. Like there is no sympathy towards the other child or other roommates, or they'll always want to safeguard themselves from others, right? So they'll be like insecure feel even when they exist in a group inside. So after playback theatre, they all were like so much united, like they started caring for each other. So they understood what the other child went through and what the other person went through, and what they were able to express about themselves to the crowd. So it just brought a tremendous change in the children during that time.
Okay. Like the behaviors have changed. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah. They started caring for each other. They used to harm the warden also.
Right. So there is a lack of empathy, lack of understanding.
Yes.
Okay. Nice. Wonderful.
Yeah. In each aspect. When I worked in education field with teachers, the teachers got to understand children better. Children got to understand teachers' difficulty better, like how teachers are really struggling to teach them, and then the teachers develop their understanding towards each and every child's emotion and better. Like it became easy for them to interact with each other, the teacher and student, after playback theatre intervention in the Empowering Educators program. So during Empowering Educators program, I was like, we adopted a Khammam district. We adopted about 17 schools, government schools and government aided schools. And then we trained the teachers in there. And then it was a nice, interesting work we did. Like,
you train the teachers in understanding the children through playback theatre.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So that means like you get stories from everybody and give it. There is no limitation of only adults can tell, only children can tell, nothing like that. Story is a story.
Story is a story. It's a real life story.
Real life story.
Real life story. So we are also experimenting about fiction and dream and playback theatre. It's on process.
So when you say all these things, you are an actor.
Yeah.
So as an actor, what do you get out of performing this?
We get into different characters. We don't stay in our own role. Like as any being, like we tend to stay in our own role for throughout the day, throughout life. But when you are an actor, you get step into different roles. Like you experience much more than what you are experiencing in your own life. In one life you are experiencing many life. With the given one life, time, you're able to step into many roles. Right? It's very interesting to experience that. And at the same time, you should know how to come out of it. Yeah, that's a process. That's a process we teach.
So how do you get into that? So Victoria, when she goes into being an artist, you step into that stage of making a playback performance. Can you take us through the steps of how you get involved?
It's a process that you need to undergo the workshop. Like we train you in such a way. Yeah, there are few levels of workshop, like level 1.
No, when it comes to performance, like you said, like, okay, step in, step out, all those things are there, right?
Through practice and how attentive you stay towards the storyteller. To develop attention span, also you train yourself. We train you in various with various activity. We train you in the workshop to stay with close to the storyteller, So the storyteller would choose who has to play. There will be 5 actors in the stage. If the story involves about 5 characters or 6 characters or a crowd or something, so the storyteller will have to choose one among the 5 as themselves. Okay, and then the people who were associated in the story, and then the story would take place. So if I'm Lakshmi, I'm trying to narrate a story about myself. So I have to choose someone to play the Lakshmi role among the 5 actors. So it's like that. The conductor plays the major role. The conductor is the facilitator between the audience and the actors, the 5 actors, between the actors. So conductor plays the major role. And then musician, two musicians we need. So it's a 5 + 2 + 1 conductor.
Okay, so
and then we have fabrics. Fabric plays also a major role. Like we don't have any other tools or any other props. We make use of the fabric as props.
Okay, so this is the team and 5 actors.
And there's a theater setting also, international standard of theater setting. Like we have, on the right side, we have the teller chair and the conductor chair. And then opposite, we have the 5 actors' stools or chairs or something. And then on the left side, we have the music going on. So music also plays a major role to capture the emotion. Like we train the people to do so. Not everybody is a musician. So anyone can learn this form. So you needn't be an actor to learn it. So you need to be a human to understand somebody's emotion. Then it's easy for you to express. Like we through training, like we train you to get into the role.
So anybody can become a playback theatre artist.
Anybody can become a playback theatre. Only thing you need the quality to listen and express and be empathetic. That we will help you to develop.
Right.
So am I audible enough?
Yes, you are audible enough. Okay. So can children also become playback theatre artists?
10 plus.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, we have worked with 10 plus.
Okay. So when you were narrating all these things, the one thing which is coming to me is this feels like a healing process. It's definitely.
Definitely yes.
So because as the storyteller also is going through something which is very in depth, and I feel the actors also go through something within them, because personally they are invested in that particular performance, because they are going through different roles also. though they are unattached, not attached with the characters, but still they are attached with the performance, and they go into that and they come out of it, right? Yeah. So but I've never seen videos regarding these things in the
See, it deals with a personal story. Hello, are you there?
yes, Victoria.
Okay, the window's gone. So it deals with personal story of the storyteller. We don't usually, our traditional school method is we will not record anything visual, video format. We're not supposed to.
Okay.
We're not supposed to. It deals with the person's personal story. So we need to create a confidential space for them to share story. So we are not allowed to record anything. So we can take still photographs. We are allowed to do still photographs with the permission of the teller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So how much of a time for one particular story you take?
It will be about 15 minutes, maximum 15 minutes, 8 to 15 minutes.
Yeah. So you don't rehearse, you just hear it and go.
We have practice session, but we can't rehearse the story. Like the story is always something new which is coming up on stage, right?
Yeah.
So we can't rehearse the story, but we do have practice session before giving the performance.
So what story do you take in those practice sessions?
So between the actors, we take the real life incident of our own stories and then practice and prepare ourselves to be attentive during the session. Just before the performance starts, we need a preparatory time before that to be attentive and to stay within ourselves. Not just like that, we can't go directly to the stage to start doing it. We need preparatory time.
What do you mean when you said staying within ourselves? What do you mean by that?
So to be attentive to the storyteller, or not to what to say. To be within ourselves is very important. To present anybody's story, right?
Okay.
Yeah. We can't what to say. We can't get easily distracted by any other conversation before you present your story. I mean, become an actor on stage. I mean, half an hour, 20 minutes, you need to keep yourself prepared.
Okay.
Without getting distracted with anybody's friendly talk or anything. Did you get it?
Yeah, kind of actually. If you could elaborate more, that would be really good.
No, when you go through the process, you will get to know.
Okay, what I get it, like you don't get into anything at all. Just being there in a very zone where nothing.
Yeah, just be there as yourself.
Being there as self, or being there nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Without carrying anything else in mind. For that moment of presenting your somebody else's story, it is a great responsibility. When you are going there and standing as an actor, it's a very, 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 very big responsibility. You cannot commit any kind of wrong narration during the during your presentation, like when you are acting it out. You cannot add something which is not existing. You cannot delete something which is not, which is important in the story, right?
Yeah.
You have to be focused to do anything and everything. On spot, you'll be given a role to play it to them. Can you? I can't see anybody.
Yeah, we can hear you.
But I can't see anybody. My screen went blank, so I don't want to disturb it.
No, we are looking at you. We are hearing you nice and good.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So so it is always a group performance, or is there anything solo?
We need a group attunement for it when you are presenting. Solo is also possible. Like there are specific few artists who are trained very well and they can change their role and narrate the whole sequence immediately, that you need to be really creative enough to do that.
Mm.
So there are a few artists who are practicing that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is also done. This is also done.
Yeah, that is also there. But for that, you need to be really, really skillful to do that.
Okay, okay. If I could ask you, like, is there any particular personal change or a transformative point which happened to you when you started doing this playback theater?
Yes, obviously, yes. Obviously, yes. It's a process. Life is a process, right? So when when we carry something inside and we have the platform to express, and we see that enacted, and we get a reflection out of it, yeah, it really changes our life.
So how I'm just more curious to know what any particular thing that, okay, this happened to me when I was doing this hit me on my face that I was also doing this, then it changed me like that.
Like that. Many aspects. When so we are actually in practice session, we share a lot about ourselves, so among the group, among our own group, it's much more authentic, confidential space to share. So it happens, many aspects we do practice all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you need the group attunement. Like you may be what to say, a fantastic actor or something, like a very expressive person or something. Like even then, you have to stay with your own limit, give space for others perform when the role is assigned to them. Like Lakshmi and her friend, for example, I'm saying Lakshmi and her friend, an incident is happening. So Lakshmi, when you are playing a role of Lakshmi cannot dominate the whole story, like when you're presenting. Like the whole incident has to be given equal responsibility for the players, actors to present it. Like through training, it will happen. So that you present the story without any conflicts between the narrative, the people on the stage. Okay. So that it has been received by the audience, it has been received by the teller. As it is what they narrated. Sometimes they will say, oh, this didn't happen, oh, this didn't happen, okay, it could have been like that. Some trailers are also like that. So it is about up to the conductor to manage that part.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
We have a few questions in the chat box. Anvita. Anvita will.
As I told you, I can only see the blank screen.
It's okay. It's okay, Victoria. Anvita will read it out to you, and you can answer it. Over to you, Anvita.
Yeah, sure. Okay. First of all, thank you so much for sharing everything, Victoria. We have some questions on the chat box, which we would like you to answer. The first question is from Mahesh. He asks, is playback theatre same as method acting?
No.
No.
There is something called theatre for oppressed, theatre for method acting. There is a forum theatre. There are similar theatre forms, but it is not the same.
Okay. What is the primary difference between the two, if you can?
Pardon me?
What is the primary difference between method acting and playback theatre?
Playback theatre has its own kind of ritual practice. Like we have ritual in this, its own form of carrying it out and all that. Now people have started taking it much contemporary way. Like to tell you, playback theatre now in dance form also they have started expressing and all that. Method acting, I'm not much familiar about that.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you. Yes.
Yeah.
So there is another question from Harsh. It says, there was a playback theatre during the independence times in India, especially in Tamil Nadu and in Kerala. In Kerala, it was called Therivu Nadakam, which is almost like a social shadow work.
Okay.
Almost during 1900, have you come across this?
Playback theatre?
Called Therivu Nadakam in Tamil Nadu and Kerala during the independence
Therivu Nadakam is different from playback theatre. Playback theatre arose from US, and it is still called as playback theatre all over in the universe. There is no translation title for this. Do you get it?
Yeah, got it.
We do have in Tamil Nadu, it is called Terukootu. Therivu Nadakam in Kerala, we also call Terukootu in Tamil.
Is it similar to street play, Therivu Nadakam?
Therivu Nadakam, yeah, it's pretty similar to street play.
Okay.
Those are all rehearsed one.
Okay. So rehearsed and unrehearsed is the primary difference.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Unrehearsed, yes.
Okay. There is another question from Harsh again. Most of the leftist political parties, communist parties, started playback theatre almost during the same time, which is at the time of independence. Why is the Indian version not given much importance?
It's not playback theatre. He's comparing it with playback theatre. What they started is for street play, and the is for the sake of giving awareness to the community.
Okay.
Okay, it's awareness about how people are oppressed by what to say. Appulam in the we had this women empowering team that was presenting about women's right and all that. Through street play, through all this we have been doing it in the form of Terukootu. Playback theatre deals with personal, emotional content. Like it's more psychological process. It's more counseling theatre format.
Okay. Yeah.
Playback theatre. It's different from what we are practicing in those days, Terukootu, Therivu Nadakam, or during a political play is all about. It's totally different. It deals with creating awareness among the community.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Jayashree. She says, it sounds like psychodrama. However, the protagonist becomes a teller with actors acting out, including an actor representing the teller. Have I understood it right? Is her first question.
It's close to psychodrama. Here it deals with community. Psychodrama can help one-on-one process, pretty much. It's also a group process, but with the playback theatre we can reach the community.
Okay. And you had mentioned that we have 5 actors one will be playing the role of the protagonist. So is the number of actors decided based on the stories, or is there any calculation?
No, it's always 5 actors on stage.
Okay.
For story. So we have a different form called conflict. For that, we have 6 actors on stage, 3 pairs, like narrative V is there. A different form is there.
Okay, got it.
So for different number of people, we go on to stage. Like chorus is there. When we do chorus or echo or something, we finish with echo. The whole presentation will get finished with echo. In our school practice, we do that. So for echo, all the participants, all the people who acted where actors, like, we all take place in the stage. Like if there are 10 of us, if there are 12 of us, we go onto the stage to finish that echo form and all that.
Okay. What is this echo, if you can give us a brief explanation?
Echo is something, a form that we reflect upon the whole, it is going to be 1.5 hours program, okay, when we are giving a playback theatre performance. So from the beginning till the end, whatever emotions that the crowd reflected about, or whatever dialogue that crowd were paying attention to,
Okay.
like that particular thing, we pick it up from the 1.5 hours program, and then we echo it back to them at the end of the process.
Okay, that's nice.
So that it just reflects the whole show to them at the end.
Okay, yeah. So is it always necessary to have a group for playback theatre, or can it be done individually as well?
Playback theatre is a group process.
Okay, got it. Okay, so the next question was from me. Is there any practice that you do to stay focused while listening to the story and while performing your piece on stage?
There are many. Like you can meditate. Like you can meditate. Already, you started this program with what songs and
Akhanda
you
Mandala.
initiated this program, right? Yeah,
Yes.
that kind of meditation you are practicing. That's really good for you. The thing is, when it comes into the group form and training format, we train you to do that with different methods.
Okay. What is one method that you follow?
One method?
That you follow, Victoria follows.
See, actually, to tell you the fact, I'm dyslexic. I'm very, very distractive, and I mean, being for a dyslexic, even if what to say, spider climbs on the wall, immediately your attention would go there. So I mean, so if the distraction, like it's easy to get distracted, and your focus would go there. Any movement that takes place at the background of your screen or something, even when if somebody's window or something. So it's we get easily distracted, like by looking at it. Some movement that it takes place. So for me, this playback theatre has helped me a lot to keep myself focused and to be an attentive listener. And then it has brought me to this stage, like to a trainer level. I mean, since 2016, I've become a trainer. I mean, I got graduated from the hands of Jonathan Fox, the founder of Playback Theatre. So it was a great journey. That playback theatre has kept me focused by itself.
That's nice. And you spoke about being easily distracted, right? So how do you overcome that distraction when you're listening to a story?
Yeah, when you develop empathy towards the storyteller, and then when you have the responsibility to respect the person who's sharing their personal issue with you, right? So they trust you, they share it with you, and then you have the greater responsibility to present it back to them with the same responsibility without disturbing their psychic energy. Right? It's a great responsibility that you are willing to do so, and you have to do so when you're at that stage of doing it. Otherwise, you're not, when you're not prepared, you're not allowed to do that.
And that's nice to know that you take the responsibility of being an artist and the responsibility of expressing somebody's feelings. That is very great to know. We have another question from Prasad. The question is, who is Victoria before playback theatre, and who is Victoria after she knew and practiced playback theatre? Why? What is the difference?
Victoria before playback theatre, Victoria before playback theatre. I'm still the same Victoria. Like, I'm very much interested in exploring many aspects of art and artistic area. Like, I started my career with fine art. I'm a portrait artist. I paint portraits and landscape. Like, then from there I went into installation practice, contemporary style of installation practice. I've been traveling into different cities giving performance art. As I told you, performance art is totally different from performing art, which has been existing in tradition. Performance art I've presented in various topics. Like, I was into giving this 7 deadly sins. Are you familiar with 7 deadly sins?
No, I'm not very familiar with that.
Okay, the 7 deadly sins is about too much of anger is wrath, WRATH, if I'm right. Okay, one is that pride, ego, too much of ego, greed is one sin, lust is one sin, gluttony is one sin, sloth is one sin. Something I'm missing out of 7. Okay, there are 7 sins. So I've been into presenting it in performance art practice. I've completed 3 titles for 3 different cities so far. Apart from my other performances, performance art, I practiced about Mother Earth. I did Mother Earth performance in open space called, on Marina Beach to the open public. And then I did Blame Game also. I did, out of the 7 deadly sins, I did Ego for in Chennai. And in performance art, and gluttony for Bangalore. I did it in Lee Meridian, Hotel Lee Meridian restaurant, where during Women's Day, one Women's Day I did it. And last I did it for Delhi, just after Nirbhaya issue.
Okay, so there were a lot of performances across a lot of cities, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we have another question, like, how do the actors benefit psychologically and emotionally? How does it help in the transformation of an actor?
Definitely, becoming a playback theatre actor is a responsibility that you carry. Okay, any other actor, you develop your skill of acting. So for this, I've trained about a few actors in the field of cinema also. So they learn how to get into the character.
Okay.
And
emotionally connect with the character.
The character, which is narrated to them, even though when they are listening to the script and all that, when they are listening to the script and all that, it's tough for them to get into the character. If it is a cinema-based script, right? So for them, they come to get trained in playback theatre settings. So,
okay.
Yeah,
that's nice.
It helps them to improve their skills.
Okay. We have one last question for the day. So, is there any process that is done with the audience to establish the trust and ease to open up?
Yes, it is a process. It is a process. As I told you, it's a 1.5 hours performance. We do a warm up and all that. It is a stage by stage process. Finally, only we get into the personal stories of people.
Okay, so there is processes.
So there is a process.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you for patiently answering all the questions, Victoria.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so we are done with the questions for the day. And thank you, Sivapriya, for holding the space so well, for all your beautiful questions. And
Thank you, Anvi.
Thank you.
Thanks to the audience for coming out with such beautiful questions, such relatable questions. Thank you so much for being so participative. And I personally got to learn a lot today because my first experience with theater itself was in college when we had a theater workshop. And I didn't want to go because I thought I'm an introvert and I will not be able to do it and all that. But the minute I stepped, like you said, it's exchange of stories and building relationships with people. The group I performed with, I built a very good relationship with them that stayed. So every time I saw that person, I was like, we were in the theater workshop. So when you said it builds relationships, I could really, really relate to that. And my biggest takeaway from everything you said today is that you needn't be an actor. You just need to be human to empathize with somebody. So that was a beautiful line that you said today. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here today. And we wish we have you in all the forthcoming events as well. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you so much.
Asito ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityo ma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Thank you, everybody.